You've found the official podcast of the Hard Knocks League, a league dedicated to the unbridled realism of being a GM. And you're ready to, dominate your league. Right. We're going to be diving deep into formations and play calling.
That's right.
It's like, think of it as, your playbook's been cracked wide open.
Yeah.
And we're going to find the winning plays together.
We're going to unlock those secrets, how to call the perfect play in any situation.
Okay, buckle up. First things first, we've got two game engines in Hard Knocks. You've got the classic, the legacy engine.
Right.
We'll call that V1. And then the new engine, V2.
Yeah.
They've got some really fascinating differences that impact how you think about these plays. But here's the kicker. Both engines can actually teach you something about the other one.
Absolutely.
It's like having two sets of blueprints for the same machine, but each reveals different aspects of its inner workings.
That's a great way to put it.
All right, so let's start with formations. Single back big, single back normal, I-form pro, shotgun spread, shotgun empty. We're not going to, spend all day describing what they look like. You got your playbook for that.
Right.
What's really interesting is how these formations dictate player roles, especially when you compare how those roles are defined in the two engines.
Yeah, you've got those percentages in V1 that tell you which players are likely to impact the play.
Right.
But V2 spells it out directly with those specific roles. Ball carrier, run blocker, pass blocker, receiver, passer.
Right.
You might think that makes V2 more straightforward, but it's really not that simple.
No, it's not that simple.
Yeah.
Because the V1 percentages can actually give you some hidden insights into the V2 roles. Let me give you an example.
Okay.
Let's look at single back big.
Okay.
Two classic running plays here. HB sweep right and HB blast left.
Yep.
In both, the halfback is your ball carrier. No surprise there.
Yeah.
But check this out. In V1, the right tackle's got a way higher impact percentage on the sweep right than on the blast left.
That's a great observation. And what that tells us is that the right tackle's role in the sweep right is likely more crucial than just a standard block. It could be a pulling assignment, or maybe he's got to seal off a specific defender to create that running lane. That level of detail isn't explicit in V2, but the V1 percentage gives us a clue.
So even though you don't see pulling right tackle listed as a role in V2, you can kind of deduce it by comparing the two engines. And as a GM, that's crucial information. Suddenly your scouting priorities shift. You're not just looking for a big, strong right tackle.
Right.
You need a guy who's agile and can execute those pulling assignments effectively.
It completely changes how you evaluate players, and it highlights why understanding both systems is so powerful.
All right. Let's stick with single back big for a second.
Okay.
Let's say you're facing a defense that's known for shutting down outside runs, like the sweep right. You're looking at your playbook and you see HB blast left. Now, V2, it's clear. Your left guard is a run blocker on that play. But in V1, his impact percentage is through the roof compared to the other linemen.
That's a huge signal. It suggests that the left guard's role on that blast left is absolutely critical to its success. He's not just blocking, he's likely the key to opening up that hole for your halfback.
Right.
So if you've got a dominant left guard on your roster, that blast left becomes a much more attractive option against that tough defense.
And suddenly that V1 percentage has given you a strategic advantage. You've found a play that exploits your opponent's weakness and plays to your team's strength. That's the beauty of understanding how these two systems interact.
Exactly. Like having a secret weapon your opponents might not even realize you have.
Okay. Let's shift gears to single back normal.
All right.
We've got HB slash and HB stretch right. Now I know what you're thinking.
More running plays.
More running plays.
Yeah.
But bear with me, because this is where those V1 percentages really start to tell a story. Notice how the percentages are more evenly distributed across the entire offensive line for both plays in single back normal.
You're absolutely right. And that tells us something really important about how this formation functions. It's not about one superstar lineman dominating a single play. It's about consistent, coordinated blocking across the entire line.
So as a GM, you're not looking for a team full of specialists.
Right.
You need a solid, dependable offensive line where everyone can execute their assignments effectively.
Exactly. It's about building a cohesive unit where the sum is greater than its parts.
All right, let's spice things up a bit.
Okay.
Let's bring in the big boy, I-form pro.
All right.
We've got the fullback in the mix now, and that changes the game completely.
Yeah.
We've got two power running plays to look at, HB counter weak
Oh.
and HB toss. Right. Now, in both plays, the fullback's role is clearly defined in V2. He's a dedicated run blocker. But look closer at those V1 percentages.
What's fascinating here is the left tackle's percentage on the counter weak It's significantly higher than the fullbacks,
Yeah.
even though the fullback seems like the obvious key blocker in that situation.
Right.
So what's going on there? Is the left tackle maybe doing more than just blocking?
Yeah, is he like pulling or something?
It's possible. Maybe he's got a pulling assignment that's not explicitly stated in V2. Or perhaps the success of that play relies heavily on his ability to seal off a key defender, even more so than the fullback's contribution.
So even though the fullback is the new shiny toy in this formation, that V1 percentage is telling us not to underestimate the importance of a strong left tackle.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that even when the roles seem straightforward in V2, there might be deeper nuances at play. And those nuances can make all the difference between a successful play and a busted one.
All right. We've tackled the single back and the I-form pro formations, all about those, powerful running plays. Next up, we're heading into the world of passing with the shotgun formations. Get ready to air it out.
Yeah, that's right. Shotgun formations. These are where those receiver roles become crucial.
Right.
And again, comparing V1 and V2 can give us some serious insights.
Okay, let's start with shotgun spread.
Okay.
2 running plays here, HB draw and HB counter Y. Now, these might seem out of place in a pass-heavy formation.
Yeah, you wouldn't think so.
But trust me, they've got their uses, and once again, those V1 percentages are whispering secrets to us.
For sure, take the HB counter Y. In V2, it looks like a pretty standard counterplay with the left tackle as a run blocker.
Right.
But in V1, his impact percentage is sky high, even higher than the centers.
So what's that telling us? Is the left tackle doing something special on this play?
It's definitely a possibility. Perhaps he's pulling and leading the way for the halfback, or maybe he's got a critical block on a linebacker who could blow up the play. Whatever it is that high percentage in V1 suggests, his role is more crucial than it appears at first glance in V2.
So you're telling me that in a shotgun spread offense, the left tackle might be even more important than in a power running formation.
It's possible.
That's fascinating.
It's all about those nuances of each play, and those V1 percentages can be a real game changer in that regard.
Okay, let's get to the passing plays in shotgun spread flood. And Texas now in V2. It's pretty clear cut. Quarterback's the passer. All 4 wide receivers are receivers.
Yep.
But those V1 percentages can tell us something interesting about how those receivers are used.
Right. Even though all the receivers have designated roles, their impact percentages in V1 can suggest which ones are more likely to be the primary targets on those plays.
So you're saying that even within a specific role like receiver, there's a hierarchy?
Yeah.
And the V1 percentages can reveal that hierarchy.
Precisely. It's like having a cheat sheet that tells you which receivers to focus on when you're scouting or game planning.
All right, let's move on to shotgun empty.
Okay.
5 wide receivers, no running back. We're going all in on the passing game here.
Air it out.
Double in and slot drive are the plays to watch now. In V2, all 5 receivers are listed as receivers.
Right.
But once again, those V1 percentages are hinting at something deeper.
You're right in the double. In WR1 and WR2 have the highest impact percentages.
Okay.
That suggests they're likely the primary targets on that play, the ones you want to get the ball to.
So if you've got 2 elite receivers on your roster,
Yeah.
this is the formation and play that can really maximize their potential.
Absolutely. And on the flip side, if your opponent is running shotgun empty double in, exactly which receivers to focus on shutting down.
Right. Okay, last but not least, the slot drive play in shotgun empty here, we see WR3 with the highest impact percentage.
Interesting.
So if you've got a receiver who excels in the slot, this is the play to call.
Exactly. It's about understanding the strengths of your players and utilizing them the most effective way possible.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about formations plays and how comparing the V1 and V2 systems can unlock hidden insights and strategic advantages. But let's be real, all of this offensive talk is great. But at the end of the day, you need to stop the other team from scoring, right?
Absolutely. Understanding these offensive systems is just one piece of the puzzle. But it's a crucial piece because it informs your defensive strategies as well.
So you're saying that a great Hard Knocks GM needs to be a master of both offense and defense.
For sure.
They need to understand how those 2 sides of the ball work together.
Exactly. It's a holistic approach. By understanding the offensive side of the game, you can anticipate your opponent's moves and build a defense that can shut them down.
All right, let's flip the script and talk defense. How can knowing these offensive formations and play calling tendencies help you build a dominant defense in the Hard Knocks League? So we know a great offense is going to help you win games. But a killer defense, that's what wins you championships, right?
Absolutely.
So how does all this offensive knowledge we've been unpacking, how does that help us build a defensive juggernaut in the Hard Knocks League?
It's all about anticipation. Imagine this. You're scouting your upcoming opponent.
Okay.
You fire up that game film, you start noticing a pattern. They love running single back big,
Right.
especially that HB sweep right.
So you're saying even before the game starts,
Mm.
I can have a hunch about what they might try to do.
Exactly. Now, you know from our earlier discussion that right tackle is crucial to that play's success.
Uh-huh.
So what do? You load up the right side of your defense.
Right, yeah.
Your biggest, baddest run stuffers.
Force them to go somewhere else. I like it.
Right, you're taking away their bread and butter, making them uncomfortable.
Yep.
And if they try to force it anyway, you're ready for them.
But what about those V1 percentages? How do those play into my defensive strategy?
Think of them as your defensive playbook cheat codes.
Okay.
Let's say you've identified your opponent's favorite play. You can then use those V1 percentages to pinpoint which players on their team are most likely to make a big impact on that play.
So I'm not just shutting down a play, I'm targeting specific players who make that play go.
Exactly. It's about taking away their key weapons. Maybe they've got a tight end who consistently makes a big block on that HB sweep right. Right. Now you know to focus on neutralizing him.
So I'm not just scheming against formations and plays, I'm scheming against players.
Yeah.
This is getting deep.
Right.
Right.
And remember, a good defense is never predictable.
Right.
Just because you got a hunch about what your opponent might do doesn't mean you show your hand right away. Mix up your coverages, bring the blitz, keep them guessing.
So it's about, like, being a step ahead, but also keeping them off balance.
Exactly. You want your opponent reacting to you, not the other way around.
Okay, we've gone deep on offensive formations and plays. We've talked about how to use that knowledge to build a shutdown defense. Any last words of wisdom for those Hard Knocks GMs out there trying to build a dynasty?
Remember, knowledge is power, but it's useless if you don't apply it. Don't just memorize formations and plays. Understand them, think about why they work, how they interact with each other, and most importantly, how they fit into your overall strategy.
So it's not about, like, just copying what other successful teams are doing.
Right.
It's about finding what works best for you and your players.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment. Try different formations, call plays you wouldn't normally call. The more you understand the game, the more creative and adaptable you can be.
All right, Hard Knocks GMs, you heard it here first. Go out there, study up, experiment, and dominate your leagues.
And remember, if you want to take your Hard Knocks knowledge to the next level, check out the Progression Football website. They've got all the in-depth analysis and tools you need to become a true champion.
This has been The Deep Dive, your ultimate guide to Hard Knock strategy. Until next time, keep those playbooks open and keep winning. If you've enjoyed this podcast and want to become part of the action, then head over to progressionfootball.com to jump in an existing league or even create your own. Plenty of stats for limitless debates.